Huntress to Hero by Spezzaturna. Chapter 1. The Girl from the Sky. It felt like her chest was about to cave in. She could feel nothing but pain and emptiness. All around her was an empty void. She tried to see around her to try and figure out where she was, but there was nothing. She couldn't even see her own body. How can her chest hurt if she doesn't have a chest in the first place? She wanted to scream, the pain was so horrible, but she didn't have a mouth to open to scream. Why? Why was this happening? What did she do to deserve this? Who was she, anyway? Suddenly, the pressure on her chest lessened and then increased immensely. She was able to scream this time, as she heard something for the first time in who knows how long. It was heart-wrenching and loud and full of grief. She didn't understand why she could suddenly scream, but she didn't care at the moment. She let it out as long as she could, even taking in another deep breath that seared her chest with pain before screaming again. Her eyes wrenched open after the last scream and noticed she could see herself again. Her frame was lean and built and naked. Why was she naked? Her eyes blurred and suddenly the empty void around her was filled with stars. The air around her suddenly got colder, and it felt like the wind was blowing against her back. She felt a weight of some sort press against her stomach, and the wind began howling in her ears. Her arms lifted in front of her, and she watched, fascinated, as the stars suddenly faded behind puffs of white. "Clouds," she faintly heard her voice say. Of course they would be clouds. Wait, was she falling? Strands of red flew past her face, still attached to her head. Her hair, she assumed? It was a beautiful crimson. She was able to turn around and saw she was indeed falling. How had she come from the sky? How was she supposed to live from this fall? It seemed like a beach was her destination, so maybe she could try and tilt her body to move closer to the water? Was that even possible? And even then, did she really want to live? This pain was getting unbearable. Maybe she should aim for the beach instead? She closed her eyes. What's the point in living if the pain is never ending? She felt something warm wrap around her, and her trajectory changed. No longer feeling gravity pulling her straight down, instead she was moving at a diagonal angle towards the beach, lessening her velocity from terminal to something else. She opened her eyes again. There was a boy? Man? A male, at the least, holding on to her, with what seemed to be a beach towel. His face had a flush of red and was trying desperately to not look at her body and just her face. He had fluffy, dark green hair that swayed gently with the wind surrounding them, and his emerald eyes were locked with hers. His whole body was covered in light green energy, and his voice was surprisingly steady as he spoke over the wind. "It'll be okay. I am here now." He gave her a smile that seemed to put her at ease. She desperately wanted to smile to show she understood, but the pain in her chest decided otherwise, and she saw darkness again. Izuku was having a strangely active day. Ever since he got his provisional hero license, he had been running into emergency after emergency on a complete accident. First was an old lady getting her purse snatched, then a kid almost getting hit by a car in the street, a kitten almost got crushed by a tree, and now what seemed to be a naked woman falling from the sky at Dagobah Beach, where he planned to meet All Might for an idea he had about One for All. Thankfully, he had a towel, since he had been planning to do some swimming for some exercise, so he took it out of his bag and activated his full cowling. He got a running start and leaped upwards, catching the woman in his arms. It was hard to wrap her up while they were in the air and moving at a decent speed, but he managed it somehow. He noticed a pair of emerald eyes looking at him, full of surprise and pain. "It'll be okay. I am here now." Izuku tried his best to sound confident, just like All Might did every time he came to the rescue. "Smile, Izuku. Save her with a smile on your face." He beamed at her. She had a look of recognition on her face before her eyes closed and her head went limp. He panicked for a second before shaking it off. She probably just blacked out because of the situation. How did she even get up there? He noticed they were getting close to the ground and gave another kick to slow their descent. The landing was a bit rough on his knees, but that was okay. He's handled worse before. He was going to set the woman down, but realized he couldn't really do that. If he set her down like this, she'd get sand all over her back, and if he moved the towel, she would be visible to anyone that came by. Izuku juggled the woman around a bit before actually being able to hold her with one arm and was able to get his phone out. Thankfully, Ida had a group chat with the whole class for hero work. He had to add another one just for regular talking to keep Kaminari and Sero from memeing up the hero chat. "Hey Creati, if you're not busy, I could use your help." It took a few seconds before he got a reply. "Deku, it's not like you to ask me for help. What seems to be the issue?" "It's a long story, but you're the most qualified to help right now. You have the most first aid training than anyone else, so I would appreciate the assist." His phone buzzed a few more times, showing that he got notifications from Creati, MHAxRWBY, and Red Riot. "Send your location. I'll be there ASAP." "Let us know if you need any more help." "Be careful, bro." He responded to them all. "I will. Thank you." Izuku pressed the send location button and sighed with relief once he saw that it was received. It's a good thing Yaoyorozu wasn't busy. Hopefully she can make some clothes for you, too. He put his phone away and held the girl in a safer position, making sure the towel didn't come loose to protect her modesty. He did have to admit, if this weren't a potentially dangerous situation, he would be freaking out. Izuku had just gotten used to Uraraka being his friend, which resulted in his first hug from a girl after they both got their licenses. He would normally be shaking something fierce, because this was a beautiful nude girl in his arms. He kept his eyes to her head to prevent his eyes from wandering. Her crimson hair was stunning. Is it dyed or natural, like Kirishima's? The One For All user shook his head and looked up towards the entrance of the beach. Hopefully, Yaoyorozu won't be too long. In 15 minutes, Izuku noticed a black vehicle pull up to the stairway where All Might used to park his truck when he cleaned the beach nearly a year and a half ago now. Creati seemed to leave the back of the vehicle as he faintly heard a door shut. The Everything Hero leaped over the railing and ran over to him. "Deku, what seems to be the issue?" "Creati, this woman fell from the sky and passed out when I caught her. For that brief second when we made eye contact, she looked like she was in intense pain. Can you check her out, see if we have to get her to a hospital?" Izuku explained to his classmate. The vice class rep nodded in confirmation. "Of course." Izuku looked up as Yaoyorozu moved closer, so that whenever she removed the towel, he wouldn't see anything he shouldn't. "Deku, I don't know why she's naked either," he said defensively, trying not to get too flustered and jostle his charge around. "I just saw her falling from the sky." "We should get her to UA. Recovery Girl should still be there," Creati stated, already moving to the vehicle she came in. "Come, put her in the car. I'll make her a bathrobe. It'll be more comfortable than just a towel, and I don't have the time to take her measurements." Izuku nodded as he climbed the steps with the mystery woman in his arms. He tried not to gasp as he saw the limousine that was parked there. "I thought it was just a regular car." "Well, Yaoyorozu is rich after all. She would probably just have her chauffeur drive her around." Izuku walked to the rear of the vehicle, where he put the woman in before turning around to let Creati do her work. He saw the ambient glow of her quirk light up the entire backseat of the limo, and turned around once the glow faded. The mystery woman was now wrapped up in a cotton bathrobe, much warmer than the thin towel Izuku had used to cover her initially. Creati was checking her pulse and created a flashlight to check her eyes to see if she had a concussion. "Anything drastic, Creati?" The other hero just gave him a smile. "Nothing too bad. Her pulse is higher than should be given how old she looks. I'd estimate around 150 BPM. She must be in severe pain. We should be able to avoid a hospital as long as we can get to UA soon." Izuku let out a sigh of relief. Yaoyorozu pressed a button on the ceiling above her. "Driver, please take us to UA ASAP, please." There was a small beep in response, and Izuku felt the car jolt into motion. He could only hope this woman would be okay.